Hello, my name's Dan Flanagan. I'm the founder of Dadless Soul. Thank you very much for having me on tonight. I'm sorry I can't be there live and direct, but as this event takes place sort of 6 o'clock on a Tuesday, I'll be in a deep discussion with a 10-year-old boy on it's really time to do his homework and eat his tea and not muck around with the TV and the PlayStation if he wants to go to skateboard club on Saturday morning. Um, anyway, so thank you very much for having me. I am the founder of Dadless Soul. We're an award-winning non-for-profit volunteer organisation that's based down in Worthing, down here on the south coast. We exist to orchestrate a revolution in the way that the stories, struggles of 6 million dads in the UK are seen, heard, and supported. And primarily, we do that sort of in three ways. We produce great kick-ass events, including play dates, dads only meetups, and huge afternoon raves. We're pretty good at encouraging men to have some really uncomfortable conversations, and we're also just in the process of launching a sustainable mission-led merchandising arm as well. So in the last 5 years, we kind of set up in 2017. We've been responsible for around 12,000 hours of volunteer time, 120 events. We've been engaged with over sort of 3,000 families. We've produced around 50 hours of content and 250 articles that have allowed 45 dads from around Europe to share their stories. And we built a community of around 2,500 dads from the UK, New Zealand, Germany, and the Czech Republic to get together and talk about everything from sort of childhood sexual abuse, adoption, suicide, autism, co-parenting, coming out of substance abuse, right the way through to practicing and sharing dad hacks and discussions on why the science of dad jokes goes massively underappreciated by the wider world. Dad jokes are really kind of quality. What I'd like to do is give you a quick taster of what some of these events look like. So these are it's a quick montage of our dad-friendly play dates, from which the mums are barred, and are some of our huge intergenerational raves that we put on that brings everybody from the age sort of 0 to 97 together for a good old knees up. Is a way of sort of bringing the community together with a little bit of style and a little bit of substance. So have a look.
Give us a wave, dads. Ooh, lovely.
Dadless Soul in full control of 50% of this parenting role.
All right, I'll give him a kiss, but no laughing. Here we go. Here, were they laughing?
What do I like? Lots of people to talk to.
It was just nice to finally get outdoors and spend time with our kids, because with our everyday work, it's just a bit of a struggle to find the time.
Yeah, it's difficult to meet up with other dads and kids, so it's a great experience.
This was our first time coming to Dadless Soul. We just moved to Worthing a few weeks ago. So it was really nice to see a new place, meet new people, try out new things.
I get to spend time with you, and we are mixing with lots of other dads, lots of other kids.
It's really nice to have somewhere to come on a Saturday morning to do something a little bit different.
We've just moved to Worthing. It's nice to come and meet other dads, and nice for Zaya to come and meet other kids.
Everyone has the same tired look on their face.
Yeah.
Worn out by parenthood and life.
Now, more than 1,000 people have welcomed in the new year early at a family-friendly rave in Worthing. Midnight struck at 6 o'clock this evening in the town's Assembly Hall. The party was organised by a dad who says it's hard for parents to celebrate with kids in tow. All ages could party, including a 97-year-old Vera Chalmers, who was the oldest guest, who had a go at DJing.
Dad Soul, kind of, we go back to how it started. It was quite unusual for me growing up in the 70s and 80s. Unfortunately, my mum was very ill when my parents divorced, so my dad got custody of me and my three sisters. So I saw firsthand the abject lack of any support that was available for men back then. So I think that really gave me a very different view on things. So fast forward 40 odd years, and there's me, married, nice house in suburbia. On paper, I had everything. I was a senior analyst in a large international agency, but something wasn't right, and I knew it wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and I certainly wouldn't have been brave enough to discuss it. Then a few things happened. My dad passed away, unfortunately, and I crumbled because I did everything that I was supposed to as a man. I'd had a good job and I provided for my family, but I had no friends really to talk to. My friends that I'd had who were back home in other towns, they were on Facebook, or the people that I'd met round here tended to be the partners of the people that my then wife had met, and they were lovely people, but they weren't my people. So yeah, I was struggling, but I couldn't really admit to that. So it came to the point where I ended up sort of quitting that job, because I realised I was commuting all the time, and if I was lucky, I'd get home just about time to put my then little lad to bed and read him a story. But even then, I probably wasn't really present because I'd have my phone out and I was answering client emails, kind of wishing him to sleep. And the penny dropped. It wasn't the life that I wanted to lead. So I thought I'd just have, initially 3 months off to recover, get my head sorted and figure out what the next sort of stage in my life kind of looked like, which call it midlife crisis, call it whatever you want, but it had to be things. So part of, when I'd stopped that commute, I was able to go to, take an active parent part in parenting and go to mother and baby groups. But as a dad, that can be really, really challenging. I had some conversations, what was I doing there on a Monday morning? Why didn't I have a proper job? Was I happy to live off my wife? Or, the really nice one was, he's probably a paedophile because he wants to play with kids. And it really, really shouldn't be like that. But unfortunately, it was for so many of us. So around this time, I started blogging because I looked online for any sort of support, and there was nothing. This was 7-8 years ago. There was a lot of mummy bloggers out there, but very, very few dad bloggers, and certainly nobody else that sort of resonated with me. So I started writing myself about some of my challenges and the way I viewed the world, and that took off in a relatively quite short period of time and turned into an online magazine for dads where we had 18 different dads contributing, and it was called Don't Believe the Hype. It was fantastic. It was a platform for us to tell our stories in the way that we wanted to. From there, it developed into a specialist content agency where we were approached by people like Disney and Marvel and BMW to work with us. So I was able to earn a living from this writing, this content creation as well. Around that time, I'd moved over. I was in Brighton, and I'd moved over to this sleepy town called Worthing. And I noticed that Worthing had these beautiful old theatres, but there was no entertainment there for young families like me that had come over. So I hit upon the afternoon and put in afternoon raves on. I called them Tot Rocking Beats. And the idea was that we take over these theatres on a Sunday I'd bring in some decent DJs, some soft play, some crafting, some activities for the kids, so the mums and dads could come together, have a party, but with the family as well. That struck a nerve. I ended up doing 30 of these events, between sort of 500 and about 1,000 each of them. And we were working with people like Jazzy B from Soul to Soul. We were partnering with some amazing charities for the elderly and adults with learning difficulties, because I realised the challenge that I had as, having a young family and not being able to afford a babysitter, or maybe not have people to go out and socialise with. Or it's exactly the same, later on in life. Or if you're a 20-year-old that wants to go raving, but you've got learning difficulties, you can't, because your support worker clocks off at 6 o'clock. So we end up bringing these different areas of the community together, and having some, amazingly cultural and basically a really good sort of knees up, for want of a better word. But, despite all of this, I was really struggling, but I felt really guilty because I was struggling. I had it all on paper. What did I, as a white middle class male, have to worry about? But I was really lonely and getting really quite depressed about it. So I came up with the idea of creating Dad La Soul. It was just one Saturday, I put my flag in the ground and said, does anybody want a play date? Because I was fed up of going to the park on my own or soft play on my own. It's really easier from the other side for mums to be able to go there and spark a conversation with somebody in the playground and exchange numbers and organise a play date. But for dads, we're just too socially awkward, or you just can't do that. And you certainly, those social constraints are in place. You can't ring up somebody's wife and say, do you fancy hanging out? The first event I did, I took over a friend of mine's office in Brighton and just put the call out on social media. I think we had 14 dads and about 20 kids come along. Caused absolute chaos. We booked the DJ decks along there. We were having beatbox battles, Lego battles. But what I noticed was there were no mums there, but none of these dads were on their phone. They were talking. They're actually having some conversations. And it's like, I'm kind of, this word, I was really struck. You have those sort of special moments in life. And so I'm onto something here. I don't know exactly what it was, but it's something, and it's kind of, say it's grown. We've got about 2,500 members now. And it's really something kind of special. So we, as an organisation, we're a non-profit. We're completely volunteer-led. So I've got quite a busy day job, and I do Dad La Soul in the evenings and weekends. And I think we've become a real strong part of the community, not only in our location, but with the changing voice of sort of the narrative around modern day fatherhood. So we're working with universities, tech innovation centres, social housing providers to understand how to get our voice heard and challenge some of the preconceptions, because fatherhood isn't like it was. We're not all into beer and football and handling the remote control because the footy's on. We actively want to play a part in our child's life, but there's nothing out there really to support us. So kind of one of the challenges we've really faced is when we say we're a dad's organisation, people automatically think we're the fellas that dress up as superheroes and stand at Big Ben complaining, and we're genuinely not. We've got dads from all types of backgrounds. They're happily married, they're single dads, they're foster carers, they're gay dads, they're stepdads, granddads, male carers from all different backgrounds, all social economic groups, that either they just want support or they want to be part of something, to be their own, and actually have some mates to talk about something other than beer and football. It's very difficult as a middle-aged man to put your hand up and say, I'm struggling. I want some friends. I wish it was as easy as, back when we were kids. If you wanted somebody to play with, you just hang around the park. Who wants to play army? No girls. And suddenly you'd have a group of people there. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, as a grown-up. And it can be really, really socially isolating and very lonely. And unfortunately, there's 96 men under the age of 45 being lost to suicide every single week in this country. And primarily, it's because men don't talk. We're not set up culturally to talk, or if we do, it's a point of crisis. You have to go to something really bad for be able to access support or go to one of the groups. But therefore, for so many of the dads I've met, they wouldn't do that. They just wouldn't, or they're not at a point of crisis. They're struggling, but it could be with time management, or guilt that they don't earn enough money, or there's problems in their relationships, or they're having to miss out on sports days because they can't get the time off work. And even that, just saying it out loud, these are massive things, but for the majority, they can't put their hand up and say that they're struggling, because we just don't do that. So with Dad Lassalle, through my need of just wanting some friends and to be able to organise some play dates, so I wasn't a soft play on my own. I wasn't down the park on my own. I could do some natural, or as I said, really natural fun activities, and maybe even learn some stuff. You get these people in the social media world that we live in, post out how wonderful their life was. And I remember seeing one dad that built some amazing camps for his kids, and I'd really love to do that, but I don't know how. I'd kind of forgotten how to build a camp. So with Dad Lassalle, the play dates, it's the dads coming along and volunteering and sharing their skills. So one dad will come along and show us how to build a camp. And in exchange, I'll teach somebody how to DJ, or we've had stand-up comedians come along and do dads and kids joke workshops, or we've done junk modelling. This month we're out to the woods to do bushcraft and Nerf wars. So we get to run around the woods as middle-aged men shooting our kids, which is really good fun. We're doing beach cleans and seaweed tasting. And the idea is that there's something there for everybody. In cities like Brighton, which is seen as quite forward thinking, there's actually 1 hour of dad friendly entertainment a month, and that's sort of sing and sign down at the library. Now, if you've done some of the wheels on the bus 50 times, it can get a bit boring. Or what happens if you don't have your kids that weekend, or what happens if your kids are different ages? So with Dad Lassalle, it's open to all. The kids we have are from about the ages, I think the youngest we had was about 3 or 4 months old, through to around 10 or 11. They get together, they get a chance to meet their Saturday friends. The dads get a chance to make some friends and organise some play dates as their own. But then we also do our dads only meetups, because it can be quite hard to have an in-depth conversation with somebody when you're being used as a human climbing frame by your 4-year-old. So that gives a chance for the dads to have a chat. We have a brilliant co-working space that we partnered with. So it's got a pool table, we've got VR headsets there, we've got a record player, so the dads can bring their tunes along. But rather than just sit there and have mindless, numbing conversations around beer and football, or what cars you're driving, it's kind of fostered in a way that the dads know they're coming to a support group, but it's not listed like that. It's almost it's a Trojan horse. Come along, have a game of pool, have a beer, have a cup of tea, meet some pals, and then suddenly once we're in there, the conversation naturally flows. So we had, say, guys that are coming out of substance abuse relationships for 20 odd years. Part of their recovery is that they've had to get rid of everybody in their phone book. So where do they go? We had a dad turn up a couple of weeks ago, really lovely guy called Ad. We're talking, and he just mentioned, just quite casually, that last year he went downstairs to make a cup of tea in the morning and he had a stroke. And he thought he was blind, and it took him to some really dark places. But he's never had the opportunity to really say that out loud to any of these sort of existing friends, because he doesn't want to be seen as weak. And it's crazy. So we've been able to facilitate this community where we don't sit round, you know, on chairs in a church hall and bare our souls. We're just men. We come for a chat. If we need some support, we've got signposting there. You know, we have a conflict resolution expert who's actually a GP by day, and he's one of our dads. The dads are able to have some quite open conversations with him and maybe access some additional support. We've got a partnership with the local council, and we have their wellness team come in. So that's encouraged the dads to take up, you know, new activities. You know, we've done gong bathing, we've gone sea swimming. They've launched Dads Are Soul United. The dads that maybe fancied a kickabout, but maybe weren't that fit or a bit intimidated of going into a laddie culture where they don't naturally fit in. So what I wanted to show you is just some, you know, examples of what happens, you know, what the dads get out of coming to Dadless Soul. So yeah, have a little look. In a nutshell, that's Dadless Soul. So we're Worthing based, but our impact is certainly national. Our story's been told in the States, in New Zealand, in Australia. I've had emails from dads in Australia and Berlin, and what we're doing is really resonating with them and the way we're doing it, because we are an organisation that's built by dads, for dads, and actively supported by mums. What can I say? It's predominantly, you know, mums that are booking the tickets for our events, because either, you know, they can see how much their partners or their husbands need the support, or they just want them out under their feet for a couple of hours. We've built something really quite special. So if you'd like to know more, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and it's just at Dadless Soul, or feel free to email me at Dan@Dadless Soul, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. I'm really open to, you know, new and exciting partnerships about where this can possibly go, because this started with me putting a flag in the ground on Saturday and going, you know, I'd like some friends, and it's turned out to be something so much more important. So yeah, I hope it gives you a quick view of what we do, and more importantly, why we do it. So if you've got any questions, feel free to get in touch. And yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.